Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of TU Stories. My name is Adrian Battle Marston, and today we have two special guests here with us, and I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Alexia Crawley. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a coordinator in student success programs.
Hello, I am Aaron Saunders. I use he, him pronouns, and I am also a coordinator in student success programs.
So, I guess I can just maybe start off. How long have each of you individually been here, Towson?
It's not a trick question, but COVID was one consecutive day. However, I've been here since summer of 2018.
And I just showed up last week. No.
Here we go.
That's a joke. I started in August of 2022, so a little bit more than 6 months now.
So, Lexi, you were here pre-COVID.
Yeah, that's I was like, oh man, when you do the math, there's actually math to do. But yeah, I was here. I feel like in a whole new, different world from where we are now. So
How so?
I feel like once COVID happened, well, I remember us being sent home, and everybody thinking it was only going to be 2 weeks. Then months and months and months went by. But I just feel like the culture is different. I think the students are different. Students are different every year, but the students are different. But their experiences have been different because of COVID, and I think their engagement is different because of COVID. I think COVID also changed Towson some from work from home policies and what faculty and staff are now doing in their classrooms, what we're doing with programming. We kind of had to reconsider everything. We had to revamp everything. Nothing is as it was, and even when we are struggling now because we're quote unquote out of COVID, which I arguable, but I think even still we're having the ripple effects of like, oh, we maybe need to revisit that because we only are doing it maybe because that's how we used to do it, but this is a completely new world, and if we think like that, I think we're better off revisiting stuff.
Yeah. And where were you prior to Towson, Aaron?
So I was a teacher. So it's funny that Lex brought up COVID because working with K through 12 students prior to COVID and working with them after was a completely different experience. I enjoyed working at a middle school. I was a seventh grade English teacher, which was extremely fun. No day was the same at all. However, when you go from not wearing a mask at all while you're teaching. Students are huddled up with each other, playing together, associating with each other at a desk, to then going to working completely online and virtual, where now you're looking at a black screen most of the time, and you're trying to get responses from students on computers. Some of them are sleeping, some of them have their little brothers and sisters that they're taking care of in the background. Some of them have their parents sitting at the desk helping them. Some of them have their parents who are there but are not helping. In fact, maybe asking them to take out the trash or do chores while we're actually in class was difficult. But then to come back, and now as a teacher, you have to have students separated. They have to be 6 feet apart as they're going through the lunch line and walking through the halls. You also have to monitor them actually having masks on in the building, and it may become a problem if they take their mask off. That was really difficult. Also, as a teacher, to teach all day with your mask was
Oh
very,
my goodness.
very, very challenging. There were several times where I'd be like, okay, I need a mask break. Let me pull my mask down for 6 seconds and then put my mask back up. And I was the type of teacher who liked to move around the classroom. So walking all day with your mask on, walking around the class became very, very difficult.
And we both wear glasses, so that mask go
Foggy sight,
Yep,
24/7.
foggy sight, and definitely tiring.
What your students call you?
Oh, Mr. Saunders. They still do. I love working with them. I still communicate with many of them on Instagram. Matter of fact, a group of students that I used to teach is coming on March 1st to Towson University to visit the campus. So excited to see those students. Still have a great connection with the students and the community as well.
So you both are from Maryland.
Baltimore born and raised.
You're Baltimore, you're PG County.
Yes, so I was born in Washington, D.C., but grew up in both places, actually. My dad lived in D.C. and my mom lived in PG County, Landover, Maryland.
Yeah. And y'all both rep y'all areas pretty hard.
This actually
day.
happens in the office quite often.
I
But we're
mean-
both proud HBCU graduates too, so that's always a talking point with our students. Proud Morgan grad.
And of course, I went to the best HBCU, North Carolina Central University.
I don't even know how you get to say that when Morgan is like pretty much us looking out the window. Like we're so close that you just wanna
Like
stomp
neighbors.
on it like that. Like how dare you? Like the audacity.
I mean, Morgan is cool. I love the Morgan community.
Where's
my
the
little,
butt?
my,
It's giving butt. It's giving butt.
my little brother attends Morgan State now, but there's just
There it
something
is.
special about those sloping hills and verdant greens at North Carolina Central University, where it's just one big happy family every year. I go to homecoming and, reconnect with my family.
I appreciate your imagery.
So I guess from both of your perspectives, being at HBCUs and coming here, which is, you could still say it's predominantly white institution, although racially we're seeing like a huge shift in terms of makeup. But that group still makes up the biggest pie, right? What was that like for y'all, right? You had a few years, you're just kind of surrounded by like just straight black folk, and now not as much. Cause like you came here, was it like straight out of Morgan?
No, so that was about a year or two post
Okay.
Morgan, and probably about 2 years post Morgan, and well, I would say two things because like I literally said, Towson and Morgan are like almost looking out the window to some degree, like you can kind of see them. So it wasn't like I was a complete stranger to Towson, but to come into higher education, this was my first position in higher education. So that was the first thing. Like I didn't even really see myself working in higher ed until I got here and got what they call it, bit by the higher ed bug or whatever. But I definitely feel it was two separate worlds, two completely different worlds. So we might look out the window, but they're two very different worlds. So just getting acclimated, and I was blessed and fortunate. I landed in the Center for Student Diversity when I first got here. So all of the focuses and the initiatives were around Black and brown, marginalized identities, etc.
Yeah.
So, it felt very comfortable in that way, but it was also glaringly obvious to me when I would leave out of that space that I was like maybe one of few people of color, or in like certain meeting spaces, or when you would go downstairs, I would see like the makeup of students was just different than what I was accustomed to going to an HBCU. And it's not bad. I think it also was a good growth opportunity for me, just because being who I am is enough, but also realizing like, okay, how do I navigate that with the politics and the realities that are of this institution, and how to be respectful but also be true to who I am, was definitely something that I had to like kind of navigate for myself when I got here, because Black culture is just that. Like we there are things that we'll say that people will just automatically get, and I can remember saying some people looking at me like, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, oh, I said something really Black, didn't I? So I had to like start to navigate, not necessarily code switching, but just being more aware of our way of communicating, and that doesn't always land and stuff like that. So that was definitely something I had to work on.
I think my walk is very unique to higher education. Both of my parents are HBCU grads, so from a very early standpoint, it was ingrained in me that this is a journey that I wanted to have. I knew I wanted to go to college. My dad used to take me to Delaware State, where he went. My mom was a graduate of St. Aug, and I got to go to homecoming, so I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU. But throughout the process of growing up, they also made sure that I was exposed to other cultures as well, playing sports on baseball teams, swim teams, football teams, basketball teams. I was able to interact with students and people from all over, and I think that it worked for me as I became a professional. Where I was able to connect with people from different walks of life. I ventured to South Dakota to be a journalist. So coming into higher education is a second, third career change for me. I lived in South Dakota for about a year and a half, 2 years, where I was working at a newspaper, and I was the only black person at the newspaper, one of the only African American people in the town, very small town, but gracious people, and I met some amazing people there. To then come back home and to actually start working at a college, and then actually getting a teaching and work with people in my community was two different sides, I guess, of the coin, but both very influential in my journey and how I ended up at Towson. They both gave me different experiences that have made me the professional I am today, who is able to help students that I work with.
So you both here now, and you're involved in quite a bit. How would you each sort of describe the work that you're involved in for people that had no idea of our divisions, departments? What are some of the things that you're involved in, just to sort of spread some awareness there?
Not you looking at me.
So I mean, I sort of want you to talk about student success programs from a SAGE perspective, and I want to talk about CROP, but I also want to talk about the bleeding that we both do, because I think it's very imperative for people to know that we actually run or are in charge or coordinate two programs that are mentoring programs, but there's a crossover. Aaron is Alexia, Alexia is Aaron, as it relates to our leadership styles. And as it relates to our programs, we are both always focused on helping each other. And I don't know how we can say all of that in a couple minutes.
No, it's very true. We're definitely, I think, a really good dynamic duo. I'm not surprised that either of us are where we are. I think because at the core of who we both are, I think we're very much like people, and caring. So I think that no matter what we choose to do, no matter how many more career changes maybe Aaron goes through or myself, I would be very surprised if we weren't in a helping profession at some capacity, just for how we see things and communicate and leadership styles and stuff like that. But to your question or point, I do oversee the SAGE program, which is Students Achieve Goals Through Education. And I also said that to say, like, mentoring is a big deal to both of us. And so both of our programs are peer mentor programs. And then we pretty much are mentors to those peer mentors. So the two main programs in our area are SAGE and CROP. SAGE helps freshman students and transfer students get acclimated on campus with a peer mentor. That's the goal of SAGE, is for you to get comfortable here and to enjoy your experience here and to have someone help you navigate through that process, because college is often new. If you're a first generation student, or you maybe just moved here, or even if you didn't just move here, Towson has its own unique culture and communities that you can be a part of. It's just knowing where to look, who to ask, and what you're most interested in. And sometimes you need someone to help you pull that out, think about those things. And that's one thing overall about college that I think students have to be aware of, is this is the opportunity. This is the time. Explore the things you like, explore the things you've always been even a smidgen interested in.
Yeah.
And your peer mentor is the person that can help you navigate through that. Peer mentors always have access to Aaron and I, our director, Tammy King-Kelly, and our administrative assistant, Kendra Wellborn. We're a small but mighty team, but we're always student-focused, student-centered. Whatever they need That's why our schedules look the way they do. We're down to make sure that we're supporting students in doing that. So the main program, like I said, that I work with is SAGE, and helping those students on Tuesdays and Thursdays specifically. We do programming as well. So other students, maybe if they're not mentors or mentees, but need something to do or just want to get to know people, start to build community on campus, they can do that by coming to our Tuesday programs in the ballrooms. And then on Thursdays, we take a really deep dive into our mentors by doing either professional, personal development. Sometimes they just need a place to chat a little bit. We play some games sometimes. It just depends. It's really their space, and we want to make sure we're also pouring into them as much as possible. So that's what we do on Thursdays. It's just a space for mentors. But Tuesday's open to the entire Towson community. And then Crop. I also want to shout out the fact that Aaron is always down, comes to our SAGE programs. He helps me on Thursdays too when we do the different activities. And like he said, we're kind of one and the same. So it's important to us that even though Aaron said he's only been here 6 months, it feels like it's much longer than that. I'm not just saying that because he's here. It definitely feels like it's much longer than that. But we want the students to know us personally as well. We think that personal connection really helps the students feel comfortable. And we're kind of open books. As far as within reason, of course, but open books in the sense of like if there's something they want to talk about that has nothing to do with our programs, we want them to feel confident to have those conversations with us because life is happening while they're here. So that's important for us that they know that they have somewhere that they can go. So as Aaron interacts with them on Tuesdays and Thursdays and in the office just as much as I do, and vice versa with the Crop mentors so that they know, because the reality is they may not be comfortable talking to me, but they can be very comfortable talking to Aaron, or vice versa, depending on what the situation is, depending on maybe who's involved, etc. So Aaron does an amazing job kind of getting acclimated in both programs and being his authentic self, which is, I think, helped students really connect with him in the relatively short time. 6 months, really?
Thank you. I
6
feel
months, really?
I be forgetting that you're still relatively new.
Right, like 6 months is really tripping me out a little bit, but 6 months.
You just kind of got acclimated pretty naturally.
quick.
I appreciate that. I feel like this is a great moment. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, God. I'm not going to hear the end of this.
I have a bunch of smiles. But to Adrian's point or question, I am the coordinator of the College Readiness Outreach Program. And the focus of the College Readiness Outreach Program, CROP as we call it, is to actually work with high school students, ninth grade to 12th grade, to actually walk them through their journey in high school and help them with their post-secondary education plans. If that's going to trade school, we want to help support them on that journey. If that's going to community college, we want to help them on that journey. If that's going to a 4-year college or university, we want to help them on that journey. Particularly, we would love for them to come to Towson University. As I am talking to many of the CROP students that we have currently on in the virtual format, I am talking to them about going through the CROP program and hopefully becoming members of the SAGE residential life community that we have in the Student Success Programs office, where they would be mentees in SAGE at Towson and then graduating to become mentors. So I look at CROP as a pipeline to become a part of the SAGE family as we get those students to come to Towson. Currently with CROP, we have virtual options, and we are working on picking 4 specific schools that we're going to go in and mentor next year. Whether that's in Baltimore County or Baltimore City is still up in the air. If I'm being fully transparent, I would love to go to both places. I would love to have mentors be able to get both experiences to mentoring in Baltimore City or mentoring in Baltimore County. We currently also offer a tutoring program that's a new partnership with SGA. We're calling it Bridges. I'm excited.
Exclusive.
I'm excited to work with SGA, and the SGA mentors and CROP mentors will be going to KIPP Baltimore to actually mentor / tutor students at KIPP Baltimore. They're going to be 6th grade students, and we're going to tutor in math. So we'll tutor in math, and In addition, we are also starting an enrichment series for middle school students to actually come to Towson as a on campus visits with their schools. We want to do this once a month, just so that we give multiple middle schools around the area the opportunity to actually visit the amazing things that we have going on campus, and to actually get the opportunity to work with and speak with some of the students that we actually mentor in our programs.
You all do something that is not just impressive, but it kind of goes a little under the radar in to some degree. And this is sort of what I mean. So when I think about like the work of, like diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, particularly in that like equity lens, it can be very easy to stay like in the theory lens, right? Like, this is what we need to do. Here is what the data is saying could potentially work. Translating that over into like real life, into like interacting with people, with humans, with, in our case, with students, is not always easy, right? Like doing the real equity work, like that can sometimes, it's not as flashy, you're not consistently, being interviewed. I mean, obviously in this case we are, but
Thanks,
like,
Adrian.
but you know what I mean? Like we're not like touring the country,
Right.
book deals, which is all important information, because those are educational pieces that kind of help shape the way we look at all this. But the people like doing like the transformative stuff, like how is that for y'all? Like doing the real equity work.
There are moments where it's tiring, if I'm being honest. It's tiring, I would say. And I also want to take this moment to shout out Adrian. He's humbly sitting on the other side here, but he's also our Generation 1 facilitator.
Yes.
So that's another program that we have in our space that is targeted to those different populations and students who their experiences are, I feel like, maybe just now coming to the forefront of like, hey, this is something we should pay attention to. But I think that's also part of the tiring part of this, is like the work is never done. The work is never done. There's usually another focus point that pops up, either from doing the actual work or from that theory research lens that now has kind of trickled down and said, hey, this is a focus point we should be working towards, or identity group we should be working on. But when you do the actual day-to-day, like when we close the door and have those conversations with students about their experiences, or, just because you're a part of a certain identity, the experiences that are outside of this university, it can be really, really tiring, because we have our lives outside of work as well. And then trying to figure out how much Alexia I should be and how much coordinator of Sage I should be at times, because sometimes students need something different. They don't need your title all the time. They need just another human being that has walked perceivably a similar a story to them, or even if you haven't, that you understand it because you work with people who on a consistent basis. And I think also what I was saying about our heart is really in service and helping young people grow and representing and being that face for them and that voice for them, even when it is hard. Students respect that, so I think that helps our work a little bit, even when it is tiring. I also love that they come and share the good moments. Got that A, or I got into that organization, or whatever that thing is. I mean, there's always the balance comes at the most random times. I feel like you're like, wait, okay, I didn't even know I needed that pick me up. But it can be very tiring, because people be going through stuff. Like, we be going through stuff. So definitely. It's, how do you balance all of that? Like, sometimes I leave and I'm like looking at my phone like, oh my God, I haven't done any of my personal life today. Like, there's like all these messages and people need stuff, or, my family, my friends. So finding balance has been kind of challenging, especially in the past probably 2 years. So I think it can be tiring, but it's rewarding.
I am going to say that I think that research definitely has a purpose and a place. However, for myself, the practice and the work always mattered more.
Yeah.
That's been one of my uh, frustration sometimes as I've gone through school where we sit and we talk about the research, and the research again has its place and is warranted, it's merited. But I personally care about the work. So working with the students in Gen 1 who are first generation students, working with students in Sage, working with students in Crop, working with students in Man to Man, working with students who are part of the her community. That is where my passion is. And it doesn't matter how tiring it is, it doesn't matter how much work it is. I'm always going to give as much as I can to those students, also those people that I work with, like you, Adrian, like you, Alexia, like Ralph Cordwell, who's our man-to-man facilitator. I am always going to give my best effort because I am in service to these programs, to these students, and that's what sort of matters to me most. I think if I had to sum up what I want people to take away from my life is that I wanted to be in service to other people to help them reach their goals, just like people are currently helping me reach my goals or have done so in the past. So
Ooh, retweet.
I definitely love to actually work with the students and do the actual work that it is. However, as Alexia said, there are times where we are going home at 7:30 and we may have what we call a quick 5 minutes where we talk on the phone for 5 minutes about what took place at work or everything that's going on, because it can be overwhelming. At times it's like a 5 minute download to actually get out whatever we had going on at work, and then we go on about our lives and we go home, we talk to our families, and we don't think about work for that moment, because that's how you survive and sustain and keep on doing the work that we're doing, because our students do have lives and their lives impact our lives. What's going on in their lives we care about, and that can impact our lives, and it can be very difficult to take on a lot of the things that do go on in their lives. But we also want to make sure that we're clear-minded, and we're able to accept and embrace what's going on with them. So we have to take care of ourselves as well.
I think you really touched on a really important thing though, and like, I mean, yes, we're doing an interview, but Adrian, Aaron, there's so many, like, we're all our own little community, and that sometimes really like makes the difference, because it is a lot of work, and there is a lot of, but we also have different viewpoints on things, and that's helpful, like to have a trusted space where if I say, hey Adrian, what do you think about this? And there's never been a time I've come to Adrian, there's never been a time I've come to Aaron or several other people who I consider part of, like, because we tell our students they need community, but we do too. I don't think that ever stops. You don't ever not need your circle or somebody or people around you that you can download in, and it's for different reasons, right? It might be personal, it might be professional, etc. But there's never been a time that I've come to any of you all with an idea, and hopefully vice versa, but never come to you all in an idea and been like, oh man, they shot that down, it was terrible. Nothing like that has ever happened. Like, we've always been able to pull out more in each other. Like, even in our Gen 1 meetings, like we can go like big vision and things we want to do, things that we know would be helpful, and using our different experiences to do that. And quite frankly, most of that is not based out of research. That is out of like our own lived experiences, our different experiences in communications with students, and what we think would really work, which I really appreciate, because you could also be in a situation where it's super imbalanced, where it's all just based off of that research or that, and it doesn't work for your communities. It doesn't work for who we're trying to serve. So I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of blend our perspectives, the research, and then like what actually we're trying to do. Like, I don't think you can do that everywhere, where you could find people who are passionate, that care about what you're working on. Sometimes that's not the case. So I really appreciate just being able to, learn from you all, dream with you all, vision board kind of with you all,
Yeah.
because that kind of stuff is also where we make the magic, like where we get, okay, that would be a good idea. Here's how we can make it very feasible. So yeah, maybe Aaron's only been here 6 months, and I don't do math. I was a PR major, whatever amount of time since 2018 that I've been here. But we can put those things together, those visions together, and figure out, okay, maybe this is how we could make that this. Or the same thing, like, okay, you're doing the retreat for social justice, how we can get students who we know are interested in social justice work. This is what we need to connect you with. This is a great opportunity for you. So I just appreciate that community that we seem to have naturally. It's not very forced, I have to be honest. I'm not just saying that because they're sitting here. It is not a very forced community, but I appreciate that because I think we do a good job of blending the research, that practical, and like our experiences and conversations with students to kind of create something meaningful, real, rooted, and students to respond to that. If it was not that, I think they would tell us. Actually, I actually think they would tell us that.
No, they would.
Yeah. They would tell us.
I mean, and it's like, I think one of the like slight pet peeves I have is like that phrase of like having a seat at the table, right? Because it's more than that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like what are the nuances that happen like once the person is at the table, right? Like once we've gotten a lot of these underrepresented, marginalized people on campus as a student, or even in like a faculty or staff position, what does equitable support look like, right? Like one of the things that I love that I've seen you all do, like in your SAGE, like your weekly SAGE events, like you'll have a moment where like you'll do like slight shout outs. Somebody has a program, we're going to let them get a chance to have like a spotlight of just letting everyone know and encouraging them to like support. Someone has a birthday, you're letting them know. Like all of those little things. I remember talking to Anthony about this in OIE, about like he had like those little moments, and like for his teacher, when he met up with his teacher like years later, he reminded him of like, you did something like that when I was in the 3rd grade when I got an A on that test, and you had everyone sort of applaud for me. That was like a transformative sort of affirmation. That teacher didn't even remember that he did that. And so like those are some of those moments, like when it comes to equity, like it is sometimes hard to quantify that success. And I think that can sometimes be tough, but like some of those things can have like a long lasting impact on an individual.
Yeah, I think that people don't realize how being kind to someone and caring, just going a little extra mile and showing extra care actually leaves a huge mark on us, a positive outcome for our educational journey, for our experience, whether you're in K through 12 or you're in college, if you're in grad school. When you run into someone who actually takes the time to remember what you have going on in your family or your birthday, those are those little things. They remember that you have a brother, and they'll ask you about your brother. Those are those little things that actually matter, and it doesn't take or cost us anything to actually ask those questions, because that's what we should be doing. We should be trying to genuinely get to know the students that we are working with, the people that we are working with. I actually think that this is a special time here at Towson, working in the office that we all work in, whether it's the Center for Student Diversity or Student Success Programs.
Or OIE.
Or OIE. I always mess that up. I'm sorry.
I think I just said it wrong. I'm sorry.
There's too many acronyms.
Yeah. But working in the Center for Student Diversity or Student Success Programs or OIE, it's the synergy that is going on right now around the work of equity and inclusion, and as it specifically relates to inclusion, making sure that we genuinely are going to students and actually trying to understand what their walk is like, what their experience is like here at Towson, but also to do that, knowing what their walk was like before they got here is very important, because that will help us build that connection, and hopefully that connection makes them have a more exciting time here at Towson, a wonderful time at Towson, and then they keep that connection and want to come back to Towson. And hopefully, we are still here and we can be resources and still be mentors and champions to those students.
So, I mean, we're coming up a little bit. We're going to wind down, but I do want to ask because I think hopefully, it can sort of summarize some of the things that you all are sharing. What would you say is your why behind what you do in like 2 sentences? Which I know is like, it's always impossible for everyone to answer that question because it's like, well, should I start from the beginning? But what would you say is your why behind the work that you do?
I think for me, I believe in joy and representation, and you need it. I think that everybody needs it. So I don't represent everybody. Obviously, none of us do. But I think, like you're saying, that seat at the table is important for the ones that we represent, right? We can only be who we are. And I believe in joy and being able to create spaces that people can be authentically themselves and hopefully do that bonding, those birthday moments, those shout outs. Give us good news if you have it. Because it's also, this world is kind of cold sometimes and you need that that insular moment where you can be somewhere, you can be authentically yourself and feel like people genuinely care about you. And if I can help people feel that way, even if it's for 60 minutes or 45 minutes or a one-on-one or whatever that is, that joy, that representation means a lot to me and to serve other people in that capacity.
I'm just going to say my why is to make sure that I can help as many students become as successful as humanly possible. I get great joy out of seeing my students reach their goals. That's my why. I'm excited to see them hit those marks, get an A on a test, get into the schools that they want to get into, get into the graduate schools that they want to get into, go to the jobs that they want to go to. I just want to be a piece of their family as they're going through that journey of life. So
and want nothing from you besides your best. I tell students that all the time. I don't want anything from you. This is not a relationship in which my expectation of you is to be doing your best. That's it. After that, I can take the rest. I can take what I'm supposed to do from my position. I can be supportive. All I need to know is that you're doing your best. And so often now I feel like there's always a give and a take in a relationship. This is not that type of relationship. Yeah. I'm just here to push you because I know you can do it. And sometimes you just need to hear that. Even as adults, we just need to hear, you got this. You can do it.
Just a little bit of affirmation.
Why do you think you can't do it? Why not? What's holding you back? Like just to challenge when it needs to be challenged, to be the ear when you need to be the ear, and then to be the cheerleader when that's needed. But that space is, no matter how old you get, we all need that. Like somebody to be like, I know you're stressed right now, but come on, or you need to take a break right now. Do that. Take that break. Go for that walk. Go get that Chick-fil-A or whatever it is in the Union, the Dunkin', whatever. Stand in that long line. Stand in that long line. Get your mind right, and then get to it. But that's important. I think we really push that with our students, too. We don't want anything from you besides your best.
Yep. Give your best all the time. Do the best you can, and that's all anybody can ask.
And people will advocate for you and will be there. Mm-hmm. And if you fall, we're going to talk about it. And then we're going to work on that. We're going to okay, what can we do to get back up and try again? So, but it is definitely important, I think, to both of us that we are encouraging students always.
Thank you all so much for your time. Appreciate you all being here. Could you each say one nice word about your alma mater?
So I want to switch it up. I want to say one nice word about my alma mater, and then I want to say one nice word about my colleague. So, yeah, no, not her alma mater, just her in general.
I'll take that too. Okay.
So one nice word about my alma mater is that we are small enough to care, big enough to dare. At North Carolina Central, again, you get a hands-on approach from your professors who care about you. I can list two specific professors that mean a major amount, or are I can list two professors that are very influential to who I have become today, and that's Dr. Bruce DePeisler and Dr. Charmaine McKissick Melton. They
Okay,
took a
shout
vest.
outs.
I know, right?
Okay, shout outs.
They took a vested interest in me. And then to say one special thing about my colleague, Alexia Crawley, I would say that she is fierce. And by fierce, I mean she is going to go to bat for every student that she advocates for. She is smart. She is fearless within that fierce. And she is creative as well. And she always has the best interest of our program at mind, whether it's crop, sage, man to man, Gen 1, or her. Anything that we're doing, she is fierce about it.
Aw, how will follow that up? Okay, so I will definitely say, oh, thanks, friend.
I know, right?
That was nice. Aw,
That was a high five for the people listening.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was a high five. For my alma mater, I think I'll actually take just that they're literally growing and leading the world. Like, that's literally, Morgan has grown so much, consistently growing, taking on new initiatives, upgrading things. I'm so proud to be a Morgan Bear, and I think that I would really say to my old self to appreciate it more when I was there, because I think that's with any institution though. Like, you're in the mix and you just don't even understand, like, you're a part of their history. You're gonna always represent this place, good, bad, or indifferent. And that, 5 years from now, it can look completely different than when you were here. So just like soak in what that was at that time. So, but Morgan is growing the future, leading the world. And I'm super proud about that. Go Bears. I'm gonna say nice things about both Adrian and Aaron. And Adrian's gonna be like, this is gonna be so terrible to edit, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Adrian is literally one of the most dynamic people here to me. We were highlighting Adrian in our last dialogue session because the way that he will break something down into such an edible size, because you might look at something and be like, how am I going to explain this? And I tell you, Adrian has the most eloquent, passionate, easy to understand way to ask something, to say something. He makes you feel comfortable, period. And it's a pleasure to work with Adrian. Period. Just period. He's just a joy. And I tell him that often, but I'm serious. I hope y'all recording this, right? Adrian is super, super dope. And just a really, really, but honestly, a good person. And that connects me to Aaron, who also I feel like is just genuinely a good person. And good people are hard to come by. But Aaron's passion, he's honest, he's creative too. And the way that he connects with students is something I so admire because it is effortless. Everybody cannot do that, but it's because he's honestly himself. And he's actually an interesting person. I'm going to regret saying that later. No, he's honestly a very, very interesting.
Aaron's got his notepad.
He's like, oh, she said.
On February 28th, Alexia said.
It was at this moment that I
knew.
realized.
But no, and he has honestly been such a refreshing breath of fresh air, not just to the crop program, but he brings so much energy to our area. He's definitely my think partner when it comes to all things. Like, I'd be like, Aaron, okay, I'm giving you this half idea. What do you think? And like, we'll take it, elevate it. And it is not easy for me to be comfortable right away with people. And that, I think, is a testament to who Aaron is. He's just authentically him, and you can kind of be that with him. And I just appreciate that so much from him. So again, these two, even if we weren't recording, I would tell them this, like, they are a part of my community here at Towson, and my personal community is people I actually like in general, just good quality people that I like as who they are. And I just appreciate you both, honestly, because it's not easy to find those things anywhere, not just at an institution,
Yeah.
but just anywhere. Good people. I'm
That
telling y'all.
deserves the handshake.
Good
Handshake.
people. Good people. And if y'all don't know them, get to know them.
I appreciate you all so much for being here. And for people that have some quick Q&As, where are you all located? First thing.
University Union. The awkwardness of it's a third floor technically, but it's like weird steps right there.
Yeah.
We're in 343 as our suite, so you can come see us anytime. We consider ourselves with the open door policy. 343 in the Union.
And her man-to-man, how do they get involved if they're interested?
So any woman of color can come to her. Any woman who identifies as a woman of color can come to her. Her is every other Monday from 5:30 to 6:30. And man-to-man is for men of color or anyone who identifies as a man of color. It's also every other Monday, and it's from 3:30 to 4:30 as well.
And Sage, that might be a little bit different, but how would someone go through that process of applying to get involved?
So we are actually in the process of having interest sessions. They will be March 8th and 9th at 1 o'clock and at 5:30.
Yeah, we actually have a couple different times, so I think this is a great time to shout out our social media to find the flyers and stuff. But as Aaron was saying, there will be several interest sessions so that you can learn more information about being a crop or a Sage mentor.
What's your social media at?
So for Sage, it's at Towson Sage. For crop,
It is at TU Crop or TU underscore crop, excuse me.
but if you just want to come to a Sage program, you don't have to be a mentor or a mentee. If you just want to check it out, come this Tuesday, which would be today, but every Tuesday from 4 to 5 in the Union Ballrooms, A, B, and C, to come just hang out with us. It's a different program every week. As far as man-to-man, Gen 1, and for her, any meeting can be your first meeting. So it is not exclusive in that way. So we always encourage students, if you're interested, the next one would be March 13th. Monday, March 13th for both. And then keep an eye on our social media for Gen 1 flyers and meeting times, because we're doing that a little differently. So it's not a consistent, like, bi-weekly date. But we would love to have anyone who identifies Gen 1, faculty, staff, or student, come hang out with us.
Yep, the same thing for man-to-man and her. You can also be a faculty or staff and attend man-to-man or her. It's a space where you come in and you take off that title and you are just who you are.
Yeah. Aaron, Alexia, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Sorry you have to edit this.
Thank you all so much, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Peace.
They can't see us.
We're doing a peace sign.
Squad.